Welcome, here's the election according to the latest polls, and let's start off with the heavy safe states. And there we go, so these filled in states are extremely likely going to be in the safe margin category come November, and let's start off with Nevada. As you can view, the estimate already has this as a 0.5% win for Harris, and the latest poll from Patriot Polling has this as an even raise. And if we average that out, that comes into a very close race, but it's still a Harris victory by less than 0.5%. And now to Arizona, another swing state that is crucial for both candidates to win in 2024. In Arizona, it does show that Trump is leading here by the same margin in the estimate as Harris, but just with him winning. And latest poll, extremely close. As you can see, this is an extremely close election. From TIPP Insights has this as an even race, so by that margin, we gotta go but for a extremely narrow Trump victory here. And now before I forget, for Alaska, so Alaska, it is a state that I personally do believe is going to be harder for Republicans to win decades from now, but shouldn't be a problem for the future. And the latest poll from Signal has this as a Trump victory by only 10%. And I do agree with this margin, although the margin could easily shift to the left or to the right in the coming weeks. And now for New Mexico, a state that is always within the likely margin for Democrats. We go to the latest polling. I don't think there is much. We got this one from Redfield. There is no estimate, unfortunately, since it's not seen as a swing state. But if we go from the latest poll, this would mean a Harris victory by around 7%. And now for the state of Texas, so Texas, which I do think they do have an estimate, of course, one of the states that Republicans have to win, and of course they are leading here by around 4.6% in the estimate. And in the latest poll from Emerson, it does show this as a Trump victory by 3, and if we average that out, that comes around a 4% margin for the former president. And now let's go to the president's home state of Florida. So Florida, we have had some recent polling in the last few days, so let me find state of Florida. There we go. So in the estimate, it does show this as a 4.4 victory for Donald Trump, which could happen come election day. And the latest poll, Emerson, The Hill, sponsor, also has this by a percentage of 4% victory for him. So not a big margin, but still a victory for him in this state. And now for one of the most crucial states in the election, for Georgia, actually. So in Georgia, let me see, we go right here to Georgia, the state that Biden won in 2020, but Trump won in 2016. It's extremely close, by the way. It's going back and forth between Trump and Harris, but right now, in the estimate, she is leading by 0.3%. But if I remember correctly, the last poll from Patriot Polling from September actually has this as a Trump victory, and I'm going to average that out to a Trump victory by an extremely close margin of less than 0.5%. In 2024, which could actually happen come November. And now for North Carolina, from what I've seen in the polls, they've actually taken a bit of a swing to the left, as I've mentioned before, from the change of Biden to Harris. And if we go to North Carolina, the estimate on 538, and I choose 538 because they're one of the most accurate ones in my opinion. RCP had a huge gaffe in 2022, so they're probably rebuilding still, so can't really trust someone right now like that. Estimate of 0.8%, and the latest poll shows that it's a Trump margin victory of 3%, yet again by Patriot Polling, who has had the latest poll as of right now, so we have to average that out to a lean victory similar to 2020 or 2016 for Donald Trump, so still not a tilt state. And now for one of the most interesting states, so for Virginia, fortunately they don't have a estimate last time I checked, because they don't think it's going to be a swing state. Here's the latest poll, but this is one of the rare times we have to go to a different prediction polling website. And let me go to RCP. I don't know how this looks like, but I'm just gonna do this right now on the spot. So RCP actually has this as a Harris victory on average by 4%, and the latest poll from Quantum Polls, Quantus Polls, I like Quantum Polls more as a name, but anyway, they have this as a 3% victory, so on average, this would mean a Harris victory by only 3.5%, which would be a huge swing to the right for Virginia from 2020. And now for New York, which haven't filled in yet because it could actually drop down to a likely margin come November. As you can see, yet again, this is another state that unfortunately doesn't have an estimate, but the latest poll from Activo from early August, so unfortunately, hopefully we get a new one soon, has this as a Harris victory by 17%, but if we go to RCP just for a second, actually has Siena, one of the most trustworthy polls, which is actually ranked number 1, by the way, and they have this as a Harris victory by only 14%. Still, it is a bit old, but, you know, it is kind of in the low, really low safe margin category, and who knows, perhaps drop down to a likely D margin in the upcoming polls. And now for New Hampshire, so New Hampshire, it's a state that many say has an anti-incumbency voting pattern, and I don't particularly agree with that, but we will see if that happens come November. And right now they have a 6.6 estimate in the state for a victory for Harris, and the latest poll by the University of New Hampshire actually has this as a Harris victory by 5%, so by de facto, that still means a Harris win here by a likely margin of just around 6%. And now for the neighboring state, for Maine. So Maine, another northeastern state. Let's go right here. So Maine, fortunately, no estimate. But if we go by the first district, the latest poll has this as a Harris victory by almost 30%. So, you know, no issues there. So that's why I actually had that as a... oh yeah, we already had that filled in. So for Maine at large and the 2nd district of Maine, we actually have the 2nd district showing a Harris victory by 5%, interestingly enough. Let me check in RCP real quick. That makes sense, of course, already had that filled in. 2nd district, yet again, they also show Harris victory here by 5%, which is really interesting because, as many of you know, if we go to Jackson Jude, this actually went to Trump by 7% in 2020 and by almost a safe margin in 2016. So this could be one of the areas that has the biggest polling error. This is not my prediction, by the way. So yeah, we got Maine. We got Maine a lot. I mean, you know, yeah, we got it right here. So we got Maine at large overall by a safe margin. So I have to pull that out as a safe margin for Harris here. So quite a bluish northeast in 2024 according to the polls. And now let's go to the really interesting states. For Iowa, Iowa hasn't had a recent poll in a while, but one of the most decorated pollsters back in June I should say, Salser, actually had this as a Trump victory by 18%, and we haven't had any other poll from there yet, but usually Salser are quite good at predicting the election in Iowa, so I have to give this as a Trump victory by a safe margin. And before I forget, for the 2nd district in Nebraska, and I should, yeah, 2nd district in Nebraska, which we may see a boost from Tim Walz, Harris VP. We got here, so Survey USA from late August, the latest poll, has this as a Harris victory by 5%. Unfortunately, no estimate. Let me see if they have, maybe? Nah, unfortunately, no estimate. So we go with the latest poll for this one, and this does show a likely D victory for Harris Walz in 2024. And now, for this home state of Donald Trump's VP, J.D. Vance in Ohio. Ohio, the Buckeye State used to be a bellwether back in the day, but not anymore. And so let's go to Ohio. Estimate, no estimate there, but we just gotta go with the latest poll from Emerson and the Hill, which does show a Trump victory by a little less than 10%. So that means it's not a safe margin, but a likely margin, probably similar to, could be a repetition of 2020 and 2016 perhaps, or maybe a bit more to the right. We will see how Vance helps Trump. And now for Minnesota, which is the actual home state of Harris is a VP pick. Let's go right here. So Minnesota, thankfully, does have an estimate, which does show Harris winning here by 7.3%. And the latest poll from KSTP, Survey USA by KSTP, actually has this as a Harris victory by 5%. So this would mean as a Democrat win here by 6%. Now let's go to Wisconsin, a state that went for Trump in 2016, but went for Biden in 2020. So by far one of the most crucial swing states to win. Wisconsin estimate shows 2.7% win for Harris, but bear in mind, polling in 2020, we go back, actually had this, the estimate had this as an 8.4 victory for Biden. Actually was less than 1 point, so who knows. Let's go. And yeah, so 2.7% win. And the latest poll by YouGov is a 2% margin victory. So that means we have Wisconsin going for Harris, or I should say polling has Wisconsin going for Harris by a lean margin, interestingly enough. So let's see what the polling industry is saying about Michigan. Michigan, probably one of the hardest states for Trump to win back in 2024. Let's see, polling industry, funnily enough, yeah, actually has this to the right of Wisconsin. And I think that should be a red flag of that polling is probably to some degree wrong in Wisconsin, because I highly doubt that Michigan will vote to the right of Wisconsin. But we will see what happens. You know, you never know. Only 1.9 estimate on 538 for Harris in Michigan. And the latest poll actually has this as by YouGov, only has this as a Harris victory by only 1%, so barely a lean state, but still a victory for Harris here. And lastly, for the most crucial swing state, in my opinion, and the most important one for both parties to win, for Pennsylvania. So Pennsylvania, by far, in my opinion, it's the most win state, and whoever wins this almost certainly will likely win the election. 538 estimate has this as a Harris victory by 0.6% only, and the latest poll has this as by YouGov actually, and a YouGov CVS News collaboration has this as an even margin for both candidates, so it's extremely close. And I mean, I agree with that take. It's extremely close at the coin toss, as I said in my last video, and this means a Harris victory here by 0.3%, which is crazy. But as you can see, this is the 2024 map according to the latest polls for all 50 states. This means Harris narrowly wins with 277 electoral votes, while Trump has 261 electoral votes. Let me know your actual 2024 prediction. Leave a like, share, and subscribe. Have a good one.